Welcome to the Death Battle Cast. Hey, we are the casting crew of Death Battle and more. I'm Ben, voice of Wiz, joined as always by Chad.
Hi.
Voice of Stick.
I'm the other one.
Hello. And then we've got lead animator for Death Battle, an overall badass, Luis.
Broadcasting straight from his dojo.
Yep.
From my dojo. Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, I mean, I gotta like get in the zone. I'm working on Iron Fist versus Poe, so
Yeah, there you go.
Makes sense.
That's true. And then the director for the most recent episode of Death Battle that just aired, Blake vs. Mikasa, it's Josh.
Hello, it's me. I directed that episode. I'm not in a cool dojo though. Unfortunately.
But you got a little martial ant behind you, so there you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
Backwards.
Love it. All right. So this episode, we are going to be doing another one of those big Q&A things. We've been kind of splitting cast up between like the big community Death Battle debates and these like gathered Q&As that sort of address multiple episodes. So this Q&A will address Lex Luthor versus Dr. Doom, Heihachi versus Geese, Blake versus Mikasa, and then a bunch of other random questions that you guys asked on Twitter, which is going to be cool. But we've been really enjoying the expanded community death battles, and I hope you guys have been too. We are still doing a community death battle this episode, but we will be getting to that at the end of it using kind of the old school like plan where we just kind of deal with it at the very end of the episode. It's going to be very weird to like jump back into that. But hope you guys voted on that on the Twitter. If you did not, we always post these community death battles on our Death Battle Twitter, just at Death Battle on Twitter. But we will get to Captain America versus Hawks from My Hero, which is actually a really cool matchup that I kind of want to do. But anyway, let's move on. We are going to get into these Qs and hopefully have some great A's.
Here we
Sounded
go.
Weird.
Yep. Yes, it did. This one's for Lex versus Doom. How come in past Death Battle episodes, Doom didn't use the Ovoid mind transfer on Vader, or Lex didn't use his Everyman project powers on Iron Man? Huh? I added the last
Gotcha.
Man. Oh no, totally got. So I'll cover this one because unfortunately Liam wasn't able to join us for this episode. And he was going to answer this because he was the one who directed this episode. And oh well. But let's see. So the idea is, how come Doom or Lex didn't use something that they use in this episode in a previous episode they were in?
Yes.
And I do see this kind of referenced anytime we bring back a character. Or a character gets a second or third death battle, like, well, how come they didn't use this in the previous one or whatever? And like, it's just because most of the time, it's like it doesn't really matter in that one case. It's not necessarily vital to whatever argument we're doing. It doesn't really match up with the animation. Maybe in like Vader's case, Vader probably could have countered the Ovoid mind transfer because of force powers. But even then, like if it's a really old episode, it might just be something that didn't exist at the time, or we just didn't see because it's an old ass episode when we didn't have a research team. Could be one of those. But generally speaking, like, I don't think it's anything to get too like invested in, like, oh, why didn't you use this and that? It's usually not really something that matters in that regard.
All right. This one's for Luis.
Does anybody else have anything to add to that?
Dude, you know me. We voiced an episode even back, like even when I was like working on a little bit. Like, and then they're gone when you're on the next one. So like, I couldn't tell you if we looked up that thing for this. Yeah, no way.
Yeah, frankly, I don't remember much about the research or writing of Doom versus Vader. Like, that was so long ago. I have no idea what we
there's
decided
only so
on
much
with the overall
room
mind transfer
in your brain. And when you're
again,
researching these things, like it's so much.
Slot it in, slot it out.
Mhm.
and again, something that we kind of like just talk about a lot is that we try to make the fight entertaining to watch as well. So
Mhm.
like, maybe a decision back then like was to include other things that seem more interesting to clash with each other. So
Yeah. And there was definitely like kind of how I mentioned, like older, like much older Death Battle had a different mindset behind the production as well. like just how we analyze certain things was completely different. Part of that was because there was no research team. There weren't as many people to bounce things off of. I think a big example would be Final Fantasy characters and like how we treated Supernova way back when versus how we treat it now. It's entirely different, and that's just because there's different people behind it, or we've changed our perspective on things based on feedback from the audience. So I don't know. I've been seeing this kind of critique of like comparing modern episodes to like really old episodes and wondering, oh, why didn't they do this in the older episode? They're clearly cherry picking information. And I don't know. To me, that feels like more like, well, if you like what we did in the modern episode, compare what we did to the older episode, doesn't that mean that we've improved? Like, isn't that the real takeaway there? I don't know. It's comparing to older episodes is something I don't really like to do in that sort of way, just because we've spent time improving the show, improving our methods, and you know, we don't necessarily like to I guess chain ourselves down to things that was decided years and years ago, because we might have a different analysis now, or there might be new information that comes up, or Death Battle is such a variable show that anything could come up that changes, you know, opinions or interpretations or whatever. Because I've said it before, Death Battle is not a scientific analysis show; it's an interpretive analysis show. So, anyway, I think we've gone off the rails. Let's go ahead and get back to questions.
All right, question 2 is to Luis. He says, did you do anything specifically, this is on the same lines, specifically to differentiate this from Lex and Doom's other battles, or was that not an issue for you guys?
I don't think it was an issue because we included new things in the fight that weren't included in the previous fights. And also, the fight's already a sprite fight, so it's already completely different in terms of like the decisions that we make in terms of shots and different just fighting perspectives and stuff. We did do a lot of cool things like doing the foot die combo, and which I thought was really fun, and just some references to like specific shots from their, you know,
like the wall scene.
Yeah.
Yep.
So yeah, it's that's kind of like that's one of the best parts about like what we're doing right now with sprite animations. It's just kind of like trying to push it as much as we can to make it feel like a normal animation, even though we're restricted with the medium that we're using. So yeah, it was fun, and I think we will keep doing those kind of things where we try to mix it up so that if we ever do any kind of like rematches or like returning characters, we'll find ways to make it entertaining for you guys.
Yeah, that's still one of my favorite fights we've ever done. So cool.
Oh, for sure. Ironically, Heihachi versus Geese, you know, it takes place around a volcano. Sort of, it's technically Mount Fuji, but it becomes a volcano at one point, right?
So did
and
Vader
Lex versus Doom, or Vader Doom,
yep,
also had a volcano involved, although it was like a prehistoric time traveling volcano.
Yep.
That episode's
crazy.
The animation's cool, but it's definitely an older episode, so you know, watch at your own risk, I guess. I see some people in the chat asking, like, when are we going to bring Omni-Man into a death battle or community death battle? That might be a cool community death battle to do pretty soon. Because Invincible's freaking dope, guys. Pretty cool. But it just came out, so I don't necessarily want to spoil things. All right.
Yeah, I'm
anyway,
watching it.
Just letting you know that I saw that.
Well, speaking of Heihachi versus Geese, since Akuma and Geese appeared in Tekken 7, did that impact the analysis at all? Can they both scale to Akuma?
Okay, I'll answer this one as well. I think we actually might have touched on this when we did Ryu versus Jin a ways back. Essentially, the idea is we can't just outright say that the Akuma in Tekken 7 is the same Akuma as in Street Fighter, and we can't just suddenly apply all of Street Fighter analysis to Tekken 7 just because of that. He is the Tekken Akuma. That's basically what it comes down to. So, I mean, technically, sure. Heihachi could scale to whatever Akuma does in Tekken 7 in the Tekken universe, because he does fight him and he's able to keep up with him. I don't actually remember whether or not he wins. That would be a question for Liam. But yeah, he could scale to that Akuma, but not to Street Fighter Akuma. That's a different universe. There is a common misconception that Death Battle uses composite characters, where we take everything from every character or every version of a character from all medias, which we did do way back in the day, but we haven't since I think season 3.
Donkey Kong is my favorite.
It's
when we did that.
Yeah, it's I think a very good example of like the difference and what that means is our Mario vs. Sonic episodes. The old Mario vs. Sonic episode took everything, including Archie Sonic comics, into account, which was basically like, well, we're basically just handing the win to Sonic at that point. Whereas the modern Mario vs. Sonic, the 2018 one, was just the games and anything that's sort of connected to the games. So like Sonic X connects to the games, right? It uses the game's information, so that's included. But the comics, completely different universe, completely different Sonic, completely different world. So that kind of stuff is removed. This is the same kind of thing. The
Right,
Akuma
whereas
from
when we put
Tekken
Sonic-
is not the Akuma from Street Fighter.
Whereas when we put Sonic and Flash, that was specifically Archie Sonic. Because crazy.
Yeah.
Let's see.
As Awesome Ethan in the chat says, that was the past. This is the present.
There you go.
Dramatic reading of the chat. Let's do that.
I'm seeing if there's anybody in chat with any more questions, because that was the only one I had for this. Nope, moving on. Great. Blake versus Mikasa. Was Blake versus Mikasa written before or after the Attack on Titan manga ended?
It was written before.
But
But yeah, we had lots of conversations about this when we started writing and when we were talking with the researchers, and basically we just felt I guess it was a bit of a risk, but it was a calculated risk. We felt really comfortable with what we had seen already with Mikasa. Felt that we had seen enough of her to make a well-rounded argument for her character, and we were fairly certain that nothing would happen in the 11th hour that would really tip the scales or change anything. It would be very strange for that to happen. So we just pressed on and moved forward, knowing that if something were to change, we would hop onto it if we needed to. And thankfully, it didn't really change too much. And we included little things in the tabs and slates, but yeah, we felt pretty comfortable that what we had was more than enough to like really represent the character authentically.
I don't know. It could have been like, and
Well-
suddenly Mikasa reveals that she has been God all along.
I was just
Then
afraid
we would
that
do
like,
some reshoots.
there were a few things that came up.
Yeah.
Don't say
Because
what they
Attack on
are.
Titan just
Yeah,
ended,
don't say what they are.
I don't necessarily want to get into the very specifics, but like there was always the possibility that randomly Mikasa would get Titan powers and just be able to turn to a Titan like Eren and other characters have. That's not a big spoiler. That's season 1, right? So there was the possibility that there would be some big reveal from the Ackerman bloodline. There were things that we talked about, like to keep in mind moving forward, and we did keep an eye on the manga as we were working on the show. We didn't know the exact date when the manga would end, but we did know that it would end early this year. So we were kind of banking on the idea that like it's going to end before this episode comes out, so we might actually be able to time it really well. And turns out we did. It just ended like 2 weeks before
2
the
weeks
episode aired or
before,
something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that worked great. But yeah, we were keeping an eye on that because we were like, it's possible something could happen, but based on Mikasa's story, based on the story that the manga's going through right now, it is very unlikely that something is going to change in regards to what we would do with a death battle. A lot of crazy shit happens in those final chapters of Attack on Titan. It's nuts, but I don't want to get into those specifics. Just know that it doesn't change the death battle.
All right. I'm grabbing this one actually from the chat. This is from Vampire Envy Remorse. Sorry, their name is purple and it's very hard to read on the black background. Would you consider using Ruby combatants outside of Team Ruby? Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Of course.
I personally think Asher Morrow would make a great appearance. No, just kidding. That's my character in Grim Campaign. Go watch Grim Campaign season 2.
But you know, it would be interesting. Like, what would we do with that? Since I mean, I guess there's technically, you know, art and animation.
Yeah.
But it's not like the
And it's
same
canon.
thing.
I've done some cool stuff. I'm just saying. I've also failed spectacularly in a few different situations, but I've done some cool stuff. No, yeah, no, it'd be great. There's definitely, I mean, the first one that jumps to mind is Sun,
Mhm.
like,
me-
or Jean.
To me, Penny actually.
Penny would
yeah.
be cool.
Oh yeah, there are lots of
So
characters.
many.
I mean, Ruby has so many cool characters
Yep.
that like there'd be plenty to pull from. But I mean, I guess we could pull from Grim Campaign, Chad.
As I shamelessly wanted to plug Grim Campaign. Please go watch it. Please go watch it. We really want a season 3 because we'll probably be able to do season 3 in person. That'd be cool.
Oh yeah, that'd be good.
That would be
That's dope.
awesome.
Yep.
That started. That season 1 was during quarantine, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
been
Yeah.
100% in quarantine, and a big shout out to Sam, and Cody and Ben. The effort they put into that show is it's so cool. It's like it's such a unique D&D show, and it's in the Ruby universe, and it's canon. It takes place before Ruby the show airs. It's so cool. I love it. It's so we have a blast working on it, and like after like we stop recording, we're all just like talking about the sessions and just like it's so much fun. So go watch
Real
it.
quick, I do see a question from the chat from Computer Ronin. Why didn't Lex use the anti-life equation?
Didn't we cover that in there?
Liam might have a better answer for this than me, but as far as I'm aware, Lex has never owned the anti-life equation except for the end of the Justice League cartoon, where it's definitely a whole different thing than it is in the comics because it's way more nebulous. It's just not really something that is in his wheelhouse, in his arsenal. Even giving him the Everyman Project powers was like a big debate that we had while we were analyzing him and deciding what should be included in his arsenal. Because like the Everyman Project powers are they're not standard. They're only from one story arc. There are multiple story arcs where Lex or a version of Lex from another timeline has gained Superman-like powers. So it's not like necessarily, you know, a one-time or alien thing for Lex to have Superman powers. But it's not part of a standard arsenal. The reason why we included it was, well, one, theoretically, he could still get to it if he needed to. And two, Doom can still beat it. So, spoilers. Doom can still beat it, so it doesn't necessarily, you know, it doesn't change the verdict, so it's not going to hurt per se to include it, even if it's kind of breaking our rules a little bit. Yeah. And I think that covers that question.
Okay. Hey, why was Blake's blood purple?
Because we wanted it to be. No, it goes back to like that whole sequence being an homage to Ruby. Like when you go back and watch the scene where Adam cuts off Yang's arm, you don't see blood where her arm gets cut off. You see a lot of yellow there. So we wanted to continue that homage. The only difference being in our fight, Blake has to continue to fight or die. So she just kind of keeps rolling with it, whereas Yang is kind of out of commission for a while. But that's basically it. It's like it was a style choice we made to continue paying homage to that shot specifically.
Yeah,
That's cool.
and
So deep inside of every Ruby character is their color.
well, if I recall correctly, it's and part of their aura essentially.
Yeah.
Because like their aura is colored a specific way, and so it's the same color as her aura, and that's why it's that color in lore or whatever. But yeah, we were just recreating that scene. Like the shot is straight up a recreation, just flipped.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
we had fun conversations with Christina, who did that shot specifically, who kept asking us why. She was like, "Why do I have to do it this way?" We were like, "It doesn't. It does. It kind of breaks all the conventions of the fight that we're setting up, but it's an homage. So we just want to make it look exactly like that." And Billy and I just kept like advocating to make it look more and more like that shot. And Christina was just like, "Why? I don't understand why." But she did a great job, and it turned out awesome.
Yep.
This episode is sponsored by ExpressVPN. You might have heard about them at the top of the show, but let's see. Let me ask you a couple questions here. What ISP do you have? Which one did you pick? Well, that's a trick question. You don't really get to pick it. You just have whatever's in your neighborhood. I know that's how it worked for me. And whoever was in your neighborhood gets to see everything you do. And I do mean everything. Your ISP keeps track of every site you visit, all sorts of stuff. Even if you're like, oh, well, I'll use the incognito tab. Google won't track that, but, well, maybe. But your ISP still knows exactly where you're going and what you're doing, even if you're using an incognito mode. So, yeah, it's a good thing to have a VPN so that you don't have them just watching everything you do, because why would you want that, right? So ExpressVPN is here. It's a simple app for your devices. It works on your phone, which is great. Then encrypts all your network data and tunnels it through a secure VPN server, so your ISP can't see any of your activity. Think about how much of your life is on the internet. It's all of it right now for me. So do you really want your ISP selling that data for a profit? I sure as shit don't, because, well, no, stop. It's my data. So stop handing over all this personal data to your ISP. Stop making them richer. Stop helping out tech giants. Stop making your ads worse. Just, protect yourself with VPN. It's obviously the VPN of Rooster Teeth in Death Battle, because we all use it. I get it by the year at this point, which is fantastic. I suggest you do the same. So yeah, it's a VPN we all trust over here, and it keeps all of us private, so nobody sneaks in and steals our Death Battle list. So visit expressvpn.com/DBC. That is ExpressVPN, EXPRESSVPN.com/DBC to get 3 months free. Go to expressvpn.com/DBC right now and learn some more and protect yourself, because it's a good thing to do. Don't let people take all your data. That's weird and gross. What's your ISP doing with it? I don't know. Don't trust them. They're gross.
Gotta have that Bumblebee reference. All right. Why do Blake versus Mikasa when it's clearly an unfair fight between a superhuman anime character and a normal human?
Okay.
Answered. Moving on.
I mean, easy answer for this. One, Mikasa's not a normal human.
Not at all.
Somebody didn't watch the episode. And two, this has been one of the most highly requested fights we've had in a long time. And the whole point of this season is to hit some of those like really special episodes. Not necessarily just the highly requested ones, but the episodes that have history with us, with you guys. And I think you can just look at some of the Death Battle reactions, reaction videos, just see how much this means to a lot of people. Which I get, like, if you're not connected to these characters, you're not going to understand. That's just how this works, right? These are fictional characters that every person has their own connection with. If you don't have a connection with them, yeah, I can totally see why you would look at this matchup and say, like, I don't care. That's fine. We don't care if you don't care. We're just going to make the episode because people want it. There's always the next episode. There's always going to be a next episode.
Absolutely. Forever. We're never gonna stop.
No.
Let's see. Couldn't Mikasa win by using her power of a Titan?
Wait.
I don't know. That's what the question says.
No,
Oh yeah,
see,
shout out to
like-
your only mate. There you go. He was a big fan of Blake versus Mikasa.
Oh, good. There wasn't any clear indication that Mikasa has the power of a Titan. Like, we've never seen her do that, and even with like what Eren communicates to her, I think it's just more implying that she has an increased strength. Like she isn't just a normal human, like we just said, but she does have some extra, a little extra going on. But not we've never seen her actually use the power of a Titan or become a Titan or anything like that. So it wasn't a clear thing we could like just give to her. She doesn't have it.
Can't
Yeah.
assume things.
Right.
Exactly. This is coming from a statement that is talking essentially about her Ackerman blood powers.
Yeah.
Makes it sound like it's blood magic. No, she is superhuman because she's an Ackerman. Essentially, is what the statement says. There are other discussions and things about her Ackerman powers, right? But there is a moment where I think it's Aaron who says,
Mhm.
"You have the power of a Titan." However, it's a little vague what this means. It could mean that she has like power comparable to a Titan, but she never physically just overpowers a Titan. It could mean, and some translations say it as such, that she has a fraction of a Titan's power within her. That's probably the most direct interpretation we could get from it. But like, okay, so she's not a normal human, is basically what that means.
Mhm.
She's superhuman.
And
Cool.
and all her feats kind of prove that. So you know.
Yeah. I mean, like, even if we removed that line from Attack on Titan, like, she's still fucking superhuman. Look at what she
Yeah,
can do
yeah,
and the stats that we
Yeah,
gave her.
yeah,
She's
so, like,
crazy.
So that line just kind of means like, yeah, we kind of knew that already.
And he's like
Yeah.
trying to manipulate her a little bit, you know. And again, so like, yeah, just going based on what we've seen her do, we have to take what we've seen as what is actual truth, and not just what he's trying to say to manipulate her, basically.
And other Ackermans, like Levi, for example, is ridiculous, but this is just more to add on to say that, like, yeah, she can do the same stuff that Levi can do. Which we do include a Levi move in the fight, right? Isn't that spinning thing a Levi thing?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The
So-
Beyblade shot.
Yeah.
Lovingly
I
referred to it
I
as.
thought it was a spin dash from Sonic. I thought that was a reference.
Oh man.
Yeah, we're fitting Sonic references into our Attack on Titan episode. Of course, that makes sense.
All Sonic all the time. That's all I have for your episode specific questions. GG, and then a whole lot of numbers and letters in the chat asked, why don't you do battle royales between characters who have been requested to fight each other in traditional death battles? Example, Wonder Woman versus She-Ra versus Xena. Why not kill two birds with one stone? Because that's really hard. It's already hard enough trying to figure out how two characters dropped into a scenario of wanting to fight to the death are going to behave, let alone you throw a third in there, and then it
Mhm.
gets really weird, and then it's us choosing, like, who would attack a person first, and that can change the outcome. So fights with multiple characters are a lot more difficult, especially if the combatants have no knowledge of each other. It's not impossible, but it sucks.
Totally not impossible. But have you try animating more than two characters
Oh my
fighting
gosh.
each other?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you have like whenever we do a fight where there's like clones fighting each other, that is what you call a living nightmare for an
Come on,
animator.
Luis. You animated Thor versus 100 Pikachus, right?
Did I?
I don't remember.
I don't
No, I
remember
think that was
either.
Zach.
Oh, is
I'm
that
pretty sure
Zach?
That was Zach.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think it
I-
was Zach. Well, I think you started with the Baraka thing. We never did this.
Oh
but
yeah,
what was-
yeah. That's the one. That's the one animated. Man, like it's
Wolverine. Was it Wolverine
It was
versus
Wolverine
100
versus 100
Barakas?
Barakas, and it doesn't even make
Yeah.
sense because they're not Barakas. That's the character's name. But it was just so
Yeah.
funny.
that wasn't my
That should
idea.
be-
That was all Torian's idea.
Torian.
He said, like,
Oh, yeah.
yeah,
It was
yeah,
awesome.
you should do this. And I went like, I guess I'll do that while like I don't have anything to do. And then like and then I don't know who saw it, but they were like, we have to do this as a DBS.
Yep. Oh god, that's so funny.
That's
I can
so
still
much
I
fun.
can still hear Torian laughing. He was pacing around just laughing so hard at Wolverine versus 100 Barakas.
Oh my god. Yeah, but basically, anytime we add a new character in a death battle, we're adding a lot of elements into not just animation, not just the writing, but just like deciding the victor, determining how we analyze these characters against each other, because now we're analyzing them in a 3-way as opposed to a 2-way. There's just so many new complications that get thrown into that it kind of changes death battle just at its core. We've done a few battle royales, right? But you'll notice a lot of the battle royales are like all the Mega Man versus other Mega Man, or Pokemon versus other Pokemon.
Pokemon, yeah, or
Those
TMNT, because
Yeah,
If-
they're they're a bit easier to compare against each other because they already have comparisons. Those already exist within their universe. If we just start throwing random characters against each other, then we're going to have to figure out how those comparisons work from the ground up, and it just creates a more complicated situation.
Yeah, and also just gotta keep in mind that like when we're doing a battle royale, like there's gonna be a point where you're gonna be like, well, we can't include everything that each character does because we have a limited amount of time we can make a battle for the fight, you know, and we had to kind of pick and choose, and it's a lot more complicated just from the research side all the way to like actually making the fight. So
by not include everything, you're talking about like showcasing everything.
yeah, showcasing
Obviously,
it
we
in
still
the actual
research
fight.
everything.
Yeah, we go.
But like for example, there are certain characters like Dr. Doom that has a bunch of moves and spells and stuff that people want to see, right? Like we got to get a foot dive in there. We got to get his crazy magic hand in there. We got to get the weird like rock shooting finger move in there. Like
Yeah.
you know, there are certain moves that people want to see and are interesting to include in the first place.
Mhm.
Start throwing in more characters. That's less stuff that each character can do in the actual animation.
And you know, and then now people will go like, oh, like why didn't you include this and that? And it's like, well, because it's a battle royale, we kind of already are dealing with too many characters on screen. So
That's Battle for Life in the chat says, bring back Torian. He's busy. We want
very
to.
busy.
I miss Torian. I've been stuck at home. I haven't seen him in forever. We would love to have him on the show, but he's busy. So whenever he's not, we'll get him.
Torian did animate for Blake Mikasa, I believe, right?
Did. Yeah.
Yep.
Mhm.
Yeah.
There. So you got a little bit of Torian that way. Yeah, he's working on a lot of stuff. He's got a lot going on. But hopefully
So Cody
we
the Dark
can
Hero
have him
says,
on the
I'd
show
like
soon.
for Torian to come back to animating Death Battle again. I think there's a misconception that some people have because we used to be Screw Attack that we're somehow separate from Rooster Teeth. We are not Screw Attack. We have been Rooster Teeth Animation since 2016, which means the animators we work with are not some separate group of people. Rooster Teeth Animation makes our fights.
Yeah.
That's the animation team we work with. Torian is part of Rooster Teeth Animation, which means he works on stuff like, Genlock or whatever, but he also works in Death Battle. He's not like separate from us in any way. Luis is not separate from other Rooster Teeth Animation shows in any way. Like it's a big group of people, which does make it complicated to schedule fights around because everybody's working on a million projects at once.
It's very
But
true.
there are all sorts of people working on these episodes.
Yep.
You can just check
Somebody's
the credits for these episodes. There's so many people.
Yeah, exactly. And if somebody's working on Rooster Teeth, there's a chance that they might work on a Death Battle. Simple as that.
If they're in animation.
Yeah, of course. Or
mean,
they're good voice actors as well.
Oh yeah, there you go.
Yeah,
You
that's
know?
true.
I mean, when we had the concept of Dummy, I just immediately was like, we should cast Chris. I like just reached out to Chris. I was
Very
like,
fun.
please audition for this, because that is just the voice that I heard in my head. Yeah. So, oh man, I had something. Oh yeah, that's right. I was gonna vaguely tease something. So speaking of like all of Rooster Teeth Animation working on all these different projects and them coming together, maybe you'll get to see a lot more of that in a really cool thing that's coming up. We'll see.
All right.
Yeah, I
Fairly
know
certain
exactly
it's
what
not
you're
announced
talking
yet.
about.
Fairly certain it's not announced yet, so I'm not gonna even say the name of it. But there's a cool new animation thing that's being worked on, and it's great representation of animation all across everything that everyone does,
Mhm.
and it's really cool.
Mhm.
That's a
Jo-
pretty
Josh-
interesting.
Josh is working on it.
It's true.
I am, and the
Said
little
too
part,
much.
the little part that I am working on actually was kind of announced a little bit. We're all over the place.
Yeah, sort of. Yeah, we are. It's like now we're getting
How do
vague,
the clues
connect?
vague, wrapped in vague.
It's
All
a
right,
very interesting and vague announcement you made, Chad.
Just be excited and be on the lookout for anything and everything.
Be
Yeah.
excited for that one show that we can't tell you that will come out at some point, but we can't tell you when.
listen, they got a little heads up first. Okay, that's all I'm saying. Hopefully I don't
Something's
get in
coming.
trouble. So,
Then
Cypher of
Chad
course
never
says,
appeared on Death Battle Cast again.
yeah, that was it. This is the end of my career, guys. I had a good run. Cypher versus why did you change the format of Death Battle Cast? One, it's always good to keep things fresh. And two,
Death
we
Battle
were
Cast is old.
yeah, we're old.
We've
Dude,
been
I
doing this
saw-
show for a while.
Somebody linked like some clip or something from like the beginning of Death Battle Cast when we had that table that I had Jack make that weighed like 1,000 goddamn pounds because it was made out of concrete in that old set, and I was just like, oh wow, that was a long time ago. Like we've been down in Austin for 4 years. What? Like that's still. Oh,
Holy
God.
crap.
It's about 5 years of Death Battle Cast. That was the voice of Sam. I don't know if you could hear him or if that just came to us. But yeah, Sam says
years.
5 years of Death Battle Cast. That's crazy.
How many podcasts on Rooster Teeth have gone for more than 5 years?
I mean, they got a pretty good track record, honestly.
I mean, yeah, quite a few.
Yeah.
but
not
yeah,
all of them.
no, we were just talking. We're like, hey, like, you know, we've been doing this for a while, and then also we're at home, and we're like, what can we do to keep the show fresh, and what do people really want to see? And this idea has actually been something that like it wasn't the first time it's brought up. Benno talks about this in the past too. That we're just like, I would love to have like a more informed debate, because that's part of the fun of the show, right? That you guys like to see is like us bringing up things like, did you know about this? Like that's, you know, part of what makes Death Battle so appealing. And it takes more work from us. But so we found like a happy middle ground with this, right? Where it's like, okay, we'll do a little bit more informed debates. So you get it's a cool little like glimpse, because this is kind of like when we were talking about doing this format, it was like, oh, this is like the little glimpse into like the very first like research meeting of Death Battle, right? Which is very much the like, I have this high level paper, my character can do this, and the other person's like, oh, well, my character can do this, and then you argue, and there are people there. So it's kind of like bringing you into the very beginning process of Death Battle, because then there's a lot more deep diving, all that stuff that goes on. Yeah, so we wanted to make you guys, give you like a glimpse a little bit behind the curtain, hopefully entertain you guys a little bit more by having these more informed debates. And it seems to be working. Everyone seems to be enjoying it. Let us know.
Yeah, I mean, we're obviously trying new things, but it was also like a pretty long process of us like coming up with new ideas and whatnot. We talked to pretty much everybody who's involved with the show to some degree, even the research team, because you know, they have a bunch of cool ideas when it comes to like presenting information for characters, and we were like, what would be the best thing to make Death Battle Cast tie in more to what people want from Death Battle itself, was kind of the idea, or at least the starting ground.
Yep.
Seems to be coming along pretty well, I think. Seems to be working out. But of course, then based on you guys' feedback, because we weren't doing Q&As because of it, but we saw a lot of people asking if we were going to do it, we've started doing these like group Q&As or big Q&A sessions. So this is only the second time we've done it, so let us know what you think of that, and if you think we should maybe tweak it in some way.
I just love this comment from El Sancho. To this day, we don't have a Western gunfight. You know what? You're right. That would be cool, though. I would love to do that. What is it? What's the McCree versus Aaron Black? That's the one that's like the most highly requested Western fight? Or the dude from Red Dead Redemption? Whatever.
Oh, yeah.
John Marston.
Yeah. I mean, a
Aaron
Western
Black versus-
gunfight would be sick.
It'd be
I mean,
dope.
I personally would lean
yeah.
towards like the Sunset Riders versus the Cowboys of Moo Mesa, but that won't be nearly as popular.
Oh my god! I think we've actually talked about that. I love that idea so much.
Yep.
Yeah, man. Some of those, I don't know. Like some of the matchups, I feel like are very niche.
Mm-hmm.
Like Aaron Black versus McCree. I don't know. There's just something about that matchup that doesn't quite click for me. Maybe I just haven't thought about it enough. Maybe I need to look into it a bit more. But there's like I guess I'm confused by it. I don't know.
Oh, yeah,
we'll see.
Oh yeah, the chat just caught up with the multiple people are like Aaron Black versus McCree.
Jonah Hex
Mm-hmm.
would be pretty dope. Jonah Hex would be pretty dope. That'd be pretty good. Although
he's got like demon powers and shit though, right? Like
no. I think in one iteration he does, but generally speaking, he's just a dude from the Civil War who got his face fucked up. Like it's basically Jonah Hex.
Lord Terminal got very excited. Ooh, Cowboys of Moo Mesa Battle Royale. I personally am all for it, dude. I loved the arcade game and I watched the TV show when I was a kid. So, Cowboys of Moo Mesa. Sorry.
Show was so weird.
Dude, so many shows back then. I mean, look at Biker Mice from Mars. They were literally Martian anthropomorphic rodent people that drove motorcycles up fucking skyscrapers. So, like,
It was a strange time.
it really was. There's just like anything. Take an animal, make it look like people, and give it a gimmick. Like, show. Because Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is making a lot of money. We want some of that. Oh, God. Let's see. Guys, we might be at the end of our questions. It might be it.
Okay. Then I think it is time.
Oh, I had Twitter
jump
questions.
into.
I've just been pulling from the chat. You tell
What?
me, Ben, do we want to move on or do you want me to hit these Twitter questions?
Let's do the first Twitter question.
Great. This one comes from Puffy. I'm just going to assume it's him. How long does it take to make a single episode? We answered that a lot. But sure.
Yeah, not recently though. How long does it take to make a single episode? A little tricky to gauge because we were working on almost every episode in the season all at once, at least to some degree. And there's so many different like sections to it: research, writing, asset gathering, animating, editing, voicing, etc. Maybe about 5 months, I guess. It's so varied though. Like it depends, and it's really hard to, I think, smush everything across the whole year together. As if, I guess, if we were to just focus on a single episode,
Right. Yeah.
what the time frame would be like 4 to 5 months. But it just doesn't work out that way because we're focusing on so many episodes at once.
Yeah, and there's some episodes that require a lot more research and a lot more work just to make sure that we're getting the right conclusion. So
Yeah.
I
That
do
basically covers it.
I do want to grab the next Twitter question because this is fun.
Hey, quick word from our sponsor. Summer is almost here and we're finally going outside again, so let's get a little music to come with us with some of the best wireless earbuds out there, Raycon. That's right. This episode of Death Battle Cast is sponsored by Raycon, and wherever you're going, whatever you're listening to, these will do the job and a whole lot more. Raycon will give you crisp sound at half the price of other premium audio brands, and they look great, they feel great, and they come in a bunch of different colors so it can fit whatever look and feel you're going for. They even have these customizable gel tips at the end there that you can like take off and on to make sure they fit comfortably in your ear, no matter how big or small your ear is. Plus, you can get a compact charging case, perfect for traveling and for keeping that charge up. Although they do last for like 24 hours, which is phenomenal. I've been using these earbuds for a very long time now, and they are my go-to ones for just short little quick walks or traveling, away. They are legitimately really good. So listen up. Raycon's offering 15% off their products for our viewers, and here's what you got to do to get it. Go to buyraycon.com/cast. There, you'll get 15% off your entire Raycon order, the whole thing. It's such a good deal that you may want to grab a pair and a spare. That's 15% off at buyraycon.com/cast. buyraycon.com/cast. Thank you, Raycon, for sponsoring this episode. Speaking of which, let's get back to it.
This one comes from
Sure.
Trashy235. It says, what's the process of determining how the loser dies in the animation? This is honestly one of the things I'm the most sad that I'm not in the loop for anymore, since I like transitioned over to help with like the Rooster Teeth brand, because that was my favorite part. And I also really, it made me really think, is there like something dark inside of me? Because the amount of times Ben would go, "Oh my god," when I would suggest something.
Yeah, you got some weird ideas sometimes.
Listen, you were the one who conceptualized the show, and you were like, "And they will die." Okay, so
That's true. That is true.
I'll speak to it a little bit, and then you guys can say if the process has changed. But it's what would be really cool, and then also like what would be cool to this situation, like of this matchup, like what makes sense with these two characters and what these characters can do. What's a cool death, like especially when you've been doing the show for so long. You know, like the routine stuff, like decapitation or whatever, is like we've done that, right? So it's like what else? What makes sense to the fight, and what's really cool? Which still to this day, one of my favorite is Yang Tifa, because I barely knew anything about Ruby at the time. Ben did, but I didn't, and so we were talking about it, and then I was like, "Well, Yang's got the cool like shotgun gauntlets, right?" And they're like, "Yeah, yeah." And I was like, "Oh, cool. What if she grabbed like a neck and a shoulder and then fired? Wouldn't that like do like a super fast like neck break and like spin the head around?" And then Torian was like, "Yes." But then sometimes I'm like, I want Spider-Man to, you know, shoot his webbing down Batman's mouth and choke him until he dies really slowly. And then Ben's like, God, no. Because the sprites can't do that. And also, no. I was like, it makes sense. His mouth is exposed. That's a weakness.
So you notice Chad's examples are like older episodes.
Yes. And listen, sometimes the animator will fly off the rails, or we run out of time to do what we actually wanted to do, like Pokemon versus Digimon, and that's why you have a really brutal child murder with blood and broken limbs. That's how you hurt people in their childhoods. So yeah, go on. What's the current process?
So you notice Chad's examples are older episodes. It's definitely been, I think, more streamlined, the process, because it's basically up to the writer, frankly. But we do have kind of a discussion of how to end it during our big research call, right? So we've mentioned we do calls with the researchers and the writer and the director for an episode to kind of decide which character wins, how they win based on like all their stats and tools and weapons, etc. And oftentimes we kind of brainstorm ideas for the fight in that meeting as well. Otherwise, it kind of comes down to the writer themselves, and the writer might have some crazy idea to go with, but sometimes maybe they don't, and then it becomes just a broader discussion for the group as a whole, and we can just chat with everybody who's working on the episode. Maybe somebody has an idea, so it's kind of up in the air. There's no specific like process to deciding it. It's just whoever has a creative idea and wants to pitch it, basically.
Yeah, there's no, between everybody that works on it, there's no shortage of ideas on how to kill these characters. But it's great because then like the best ideas kind of float to the top, and as a group you decide on what works best.
And it's like, I don't know, it's important. It's that like the cherry on the top of the episode, I guess. It's the, you know, like we've done all the work, we've figured it out. Okay, this person will kill this person, and then you get to go, now how do we get to do it?
I think it's definitely really important to include like the researchers who have spent a lot of time just looking into these characters in that kind of conversation, because they know these characters best. But you know, sometimes we do really messed up deaths, right? But typically speaking, we try to keep it. There was a part of me when Death Battle first started that kind of saw the show as well. When Death Battle first started, the whole thing was a joke, right? Like the whole idea of like who would win in a fight, let's like analyze it, was just a fucking joke. Which is why early Death Battle is so different from what it is now. Because I didn't think anybody really cared all that much.
Goomba versus Koopa
shows what I know. So a lot of early deaths were like really over the top and ridiculously brutal. And then we did the Ninja Turtle Battle Royale. And I realized based on the reactions to that episode that like people, it hurt people to see some of these characters like killing each other, despite the fact that we are, or that they are interpreting them as we are trying to basically present them as the characters.
Yeah, that TMNT Death Battle, that was the first time we really felt that.
Yeah, well, because there was this, I think, disconnect early on, at least I had, with whether or not we should be treating these characters as like we are recreating them bit for bit, or are we Robot Chicken? like that kind of idea of how much do we want to parody these characters wasn't really locked into place until much later, where we basically just don't parody them at all. Like we don't do that anymore, right? We haven't done that since probably season 2-ish. But definitely early on, there was a lot of that kind of question of like, how far do we want to go with the parody? And because of that, we could probably have really absurd deaths, right? Whereas nowadays, the deaths need to kind of fit more in line with the characters themselves, as opposed to some like ridiculous, absurd thing that, I mean, it's a death battle. They're going to have to be violent, but like, we don't want to push it too far that the character no longer feels like
if it's a children's show, we will likely now no longer include gore. Like, you know, like we'll find like
it depends, but
it depends. But you know, like we try and take that stuff.
We won't go super brutal on those kind of like fights. It's also very easy to kind of disconnect yourself from the franchise while you're working on the episodes and not really think about like what you're actually like doing to the characters that people love. You know what I mean? Because like sometimes like, you know, there's a really cool like death and like people like all the animators are super excited to like work on it and make it as brutal as possible. But when you look at it and you go, you know, maybe that character shouldn't have died like that. Maybe it was a little bit too far. Like say for example, the one that I feel like it went a little bit too hard. At least for me, I think it was like the Shovel Knight Excursion McDuck one. And
Sam wrote that one.
It should have been like, you know, like once and then like cut and like the head goes flying. But then I go, oh, what if he jumps a couple times and it's like you know, and then
I mean, okay, I'm going to say, because like a lot of people I've seen take our comment about what we did with Twilight versus Raven out of context, and they say like they specifically didn't include gore in that one because it's a children's show. But what about Ben 10? What about the Ninja Turtles against Jason? Blah 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 blah. There were gore in those episodes. Contradiction. But no, that's not exactly there's so much more context to it. The reason why we kind of avoided gore for Twilight's death was because that was a show that was targeting children at the time of airing, and kids would be looking up My Little Pony shit, and we didn't want to get looped into the same group as what was it called? Princess Molestia. That shit, where it's like kids are looking up My Little Pony and finding horrible shit. Like we didn't want to get looped into that crap. But like Ninja Turtles has been around for like 20 years, man.
Also,
like there's all sorts of people looking for it.
Yeah, and No Scope Luigi 4 says like Leo slicing off Mikey's arm and head, then Raph stabbing Johnny over and over again. What the fuck? And it's okay, listen, I will take responsibility for this. That was my fault. And that's because
the Ninja Turtle one? No, that was my fault.
You animated it. Okay, maybe fine. Share the responsibility. Happy to. Because Ben and I were talking, and we were like, there's since been like a parody cartoon about like the Ninja Turtles actually using their weapons, but we talked about that. We're like, they never do it like in the show, and so like we wanted to be like, this is what would happen if you use these weapons, right? Like Leonardo would cut someone's like limb off, right? And then I made you do the Donnie thing. I remember that though, because remember we were talking about the Raph thing, and because I remember you complaining about having to animate it. I was like, the sides, like you gotta get in there. Like he'd just stab over and over.
I guess I don't remember exactly whose idea was what, but because that was 10 years ago.
Yeah.
I'm surprised.
The only one I remember is the sides, because I remember you getting mad at me because Donatello was your favorite character, and I was the one who really pitched it to be the brutal stabbing, and you didn't like that. But because you had to animate it.
I could have sworn that I was the one who decided to do it, and I was just mad because I wasn't mad. I just got sad as I was doing it because it was like, man, this is too far, but this is what the show is. I don't know. Whatever. Either way, we need to get to the community death battle. Let's do it. Community death. All right, we got Captain America versus Hawks. Spoilers: Falcon became Captain America.
What?
Like nobody knew that was gonna happen.
Who saw that coming?
Yep. As usual, this is or not, I guess not as usual. As used to be usual, we're leaving it up to you guys. Let us know who you think should win and why using hashtag DeathMetalCast on Twitter. So let's go ahead and bring up the first answer.
All right, probably a nerd says Hawks is stronger, more durable, and has more attacking power. Sure.
Yeah.
But considering Falcon should scale to the top tier street level characters in Marvel, he should be faster. On top of that, add his vibranium wings and his battlefield awareness, thanks to Link with birds. I think Falcon wins.
I don't. Does MCU Sam have a link with birds? Oh,
No,
wait.
he has he has his little
Red Wing.
Red Wing.
Mm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Oh,
but
yeah, but
two
it's like
Red
it's like
Wings,
a
yeah.
robot. He's got
Yeah.
two
Correct.
wings now. Yeah.
it's a drone.
Is one blue wing now? Does he have a red wing and a blue wing?
Oh yeah, I don't know.
Soon there'll be a third. It'll be the red, white, and blue wings.
Yes.
Exactly.
Perfect.
Perfect.
Okay, well, let's go ahead and bring up the other answer for Hawks.
This one comes from Speedy. He says Sam has speed via scaling to people like Cap, but what?
My Hero.
My Hero.
Academia.
Oh, we are doing My Hero Academia. Sorry, but My Hero Academia people, even just students, have attack power feats greater than anything Sam has, and Hawks is the number 2 hero. Taking Dobby's fire makes him too tough for Sam to harm, and piercing Hood is enough to damage Sam's wings, which at best have megaton durability. Okay.
Wow. Okay, really got into.
I know, both people were, like,
the
digging
weeds
it
of those
into there.
answers.
That's
yeah,
great.
Holy crap! That could be. This, I think this could be really cool death battle. Seeing them flying around.
The chat's just adding
especially since,
Captain Falcon. The chat is just adding Captain Falcon into this. Like,
Obviously.
I mean, unfortunately, Captain Falcon would just punch them both to smithereens.
I know, right?
Yeah.
But so Captain America has red wings, red wing, blue wing, white wing, maybe, I don't know, flying around helping him, and the shield. And then Hawks has a million feathers that he can control telekinetically and are somehow strong enough to lift people. Those are like the main weapons that these guys have.
I'm not caught up in My Hero Academia, which has been a thing that's been on my list that I keep not getting to, so I don't even know this character.
You don't know Hawks? Oh my
No.
god.
I don't know Hawks either.
What?
I mean,
Luis, you know Hawks, right?
Hawk can kind of like fight alongside Endeavor, so that should like really say a lot about him in general.
Yeah. I mean, he's not like that powerful though.
But he's pretty.
He's the
rank-
number 2 hero because of he's smart and he's clever with his wings.
But that is factors, yeah. So I just think that if we can keep up with those powerful of abilities that like Endeavor fights with, I think he's smart enough to be able to outmaneuver him and outclass him.
Yeah, and they also, man, they make a big old deal the whole time that Falcon is not a super soldier. That is a very big thread in this show. So if we're going with
But-
MCU,
Spoilers. Doesn't matter when he's basically covered in vibranium.
but his
Mm.
suit isn't.
Yeah, it is. Came from Wakanda.
And his gadgets, like his like wings.
His suit.
Theoretically, everything is vibranium.
Did I miss that?
It's not like
They
Right.
said that in
at the end of an
his-
episode he opens up the case. In the next episode we see him in the suit. So it's heavily implied. I mean, it's definitely from Wakanda. But
Yeah. Yeah, Bucky asked the Dormilaje that for a favor. The next time we see him, he's carrying a suit or he's carrying a case. Opens it up. It's the suit.
Sure.
Where else is he going to get like crazy high-tech wings made? Iron
Well,
Man's
right.
not around anymore.
No, I know. I just didn't apply that to the suit. And even if it's the suit, okay, listen, I know. Like Wakanda,
It is shown because the helicopter falls on him and it just bounces off.
oh, when he's
no,
got
he uses the wings.
the wings
Yeah.
and the shield. But yeah, the wings.
He used
are
the wings
strong.
and the shield. It's not his suit though. That's what I'm saying. Like
Oh, you think it's
It
just the
would have crushed him
wings.
if it wasn't vibranium, though.
No, I'm saying okay. We're arguing two different things. I'm saying that yes, the wings and the shield are vibranium,
Mm.
but I don't know. I don't know about the suit. You said if he's covered in it, and so I'm like the actual suit that he's wearing. I get it. It probably came from Wakanda, very likely, and they love to throw vibranium and fucking everything, but we don't technically know that it's got like vibranium threading or something, right? So that's all I'm saying.
Jason Jensen says the entire suit being vibranium is sus. Why? Literally everything they make there is made of vibranium. They have 3
I mean,
Black
they-
Panther suits made
they
of
love it.
vibranium.
That's true. They love it. It's a good, but we don't know for sure. That's all I'm saying.
It is funny
Um,
to think about how a Wakandan had to make like this super patriotic American suit for them.
I know, right? And it's also, dude, it drives me nuts. We're like so off track, but who cares? Those fucking ear holes. I felt so bad for that
Yeah.
actor. I was watching that, and in so many scenes, the thing is just pulling down on his ears, and I'm like, dude, he must hate that suit. Like, if we see him again in that shit, like, I'm waiting for the change where there's
Yeah.
like ear cups or like it's just we'll see what happens.
The
Yeah,
MCU is good at it. It'll get better.
They made it pretty comic book accurate, but
Yeah.
I do think that the headgear doesn't really make a lot of logical sense. I think it needs to be more of a helmet.
And April's like, she's like,
Um,
that's stupid. Why'd they even do that? I'm like, it has precedence. She's like, no other character has it. I'm like, Gambit. She's like, damn it.
Anyway, we need to wrap up the show, so let's do quick rapid fire votes. Luis,
Hawks.
audio cut out for me, so I don't know what you said.
He said Hawk.
Okay. Chad,
It's all ruined now. Let's say Hawks because
Oh.
probably it's MHA.
Yeah.
Josh, you're voting Hawks too?
What's
What's happening?
I don't know what's
happened?
happening.
I don't know. Ben doesn't get audio
Oh, no.
anymore, apparently.
Yeah, I'm not hearing you guys apparently. So
Oh, no.
anyway,
We all
that hasn't
voted
been
Hawks.
happening the whole show.
We all voted Hawks. What do you want? You want to lose again,
What's
or do you want to
happening?
join the winning team?
Damn it! God damn it! No, I'm not gonna be pressured into it. I'm voting Captain Falcon.
There you go. They are perfect.
All
Third
right,
surprise
let's bring
entry.
up the poll. See who wins.
Whoa.
What?
Whoa!
Oh, that's
Alright.
surprising. That's surprising.
That is surprising.
Yeah.
We should really look into this one.
Yeah.
Sam, the voice of God, says, Ben, disconnect from the room and rejoin just so you can say goodbye because the show's wrapping and we need to throw you a
Well,
achievement
yeah.
hunter.
I mean, I'm just gonna wrap this up real quick. Thanks for watching. We do need to jump out because we're 2 minutes over. But thank you all for joining this big Q&A / Falcon versus Hawks episode. Either way, we have a new episode coming out, new Death Battle episode coming out very soon. Iron Fist versus Poe, which is a very fun episode. I think
Amazing.
Luis's team has been super creative with it.
Yeah.
So anyway, thank you, Josh and Luis, for jumping in to help.
But
Yes,
not
thank you
me.
too, Chad.